Hello, my friends, and welcome back. Thank you very much for being with me again today. Today we will analyze the short man syndrome. And we will analyze the short man syndrome as sometimes is, I would say, incorrectly called Napoleon's complex. Well, why is it called Napoleon's complex? Because certain people lied and they called Napoleon short, where in fact Napoleon Bonaparte was not short, was above the average of his time. But the Brits, or the English, called him short because they didn't like him much. And it stuck this kind of Napoleonic or Napoleon's complex. And I'm going to discuss this complex in the context of Vladimir Putin, who was also called by that syndrome or inferiority complex, Napoleon complex, or the short man syndrome. So first, let's get it done like this. Do you know what was Napoleon's height? Okay, well, write on the paper. Do you know what is Vladimir Putin's height? Okay, and then write it down. What is the president of Ukraine's, Volodymyr Zelensky's, height? Okay, now I guess you know exactly where I'm going with this, right? Alright, if you got the right measurements, heights, then you know exactly where I'm going with it. If you don't, you're gonna think, what the is this guy talking about? Well, let me show you what I'm talking about. First, I will show you two different articles coming from the Western media ridiculing Putin's size, not that size, but height, and making fun of him, saying that he must have the Napoleon's complex because he is short. Okay, well, let's see. We have here from the week from January 31st, 2023. And this is the title. Vladimir Putin and the rise of the short kings. Critics suggest Russian leader has Napoleon complex, but numerous world leaders match his stature. All right, well, obviously, if you're not familiar with what would be some of the characteristics of a person with so-called short man syndrome, is aggressivity, selfishness, the desire to be more than he is, all right, this kind of things, because he wants to compensate his lack of height through other means, which sometimes works because that's how you have energy, and the ones that are tall and not have that complex might lack that kind of negative energy to attain success. So let's get to the next article, which is coming from the Sun, the US Sun, and this is from April 1st, 2022. Short temper is 5 feet 7 inch Putin's, I'm quoting, Napoleon complex, the real reason tyrant invaded Ukraine and brought world to brink of World War III? Question mark. Obviously, they will conclude that yes, that's the case, because he just woke up one day with his complex and decided to invade Ukraine because he's an idiot and he's just a tard. Right? Right. Okay, let's see what this is it. Short man syndrome, parenthesis, Napoleon complex, myth or fact? So I'm gonna go straight here. Where does Napoleon come in? Interestingly, people also know small man syndrome as Napoleon complex or Napoleon syndrome. The name comes from the first French emperor, Napoleon Bonaparte, who built the most widespread empire since the Romans. He was a master of war and conquest, but the most prominent of his features was he was short, according to the British. Allegedly, when one of Napoleon's military commanders told him that he felt uncomfortable being so much taller than the ruler, Napoleon replied, You may be taller, but I'm greater. This quote seems to give a credence to the claim that Napoleon fought wars to show his worth beyond his height. Moreover, the British painted him as short in propaganda campaigns due to their rivalry with him. Since the British had an all-encompassing influence over the world during colonial times, the image of the puny French emperor has endured till today. The fact is not accurate, though. Napoleon stood at 5 feet 7 inches, which may seem short by today's standards, but was above the average male height at the time! Exclamation marks. Besides, he usually traveled with his imperial guard, which consisted of taller than average men, making him look shorter in comparison. Okay? Okay, the fact is not accurate though. Napoleon stood 5.7 inches, 5 feet 7 inches. You got that on your little piece of paper that you wrote his height? Alright, let's move to the next one, right? We have here Napoleon. 5'7", which is 1 meter 71 centimeters. So 1.71 meters. Okay, right here. So write it down and see where you were. 171, 1.71 or 5'7". Alright, let's go to Putin. How much did you put over there? This guy? He is 5'7". All of a sudden it's 1.70. So he is like this guy. And then we have, why do they have 5.7, 5.7? Because an inch, it has a little bit of, it's 2.5 centimeters, an inch. So in this 5.7, from 5.7 to 5.8, you have 2.5 centimeters. So that's why this can be 170 and the other one can be 171. So Napoleon was taller than Putin. Hey, how much did you put for the Weasel Zelensky again? Alright, so he's 5'6", 167. So he is what? 4 centimeters shorter. So it's almost 2 inches shorter than Napoleon. 5'6", which is 167. As I told you, it's an variable over there of, as I said, 1 inch is 2.5 centimeters. So one could be 167 for 5'6", one could be 168 for 5'6", let's say. So he's 157 and Putin is 170 and Napoleon 171. So who should have the Napoleon syndrome, the short man syndrome? Well, obviously it's not necessary that if you're short, develop that kind of inferiority complex. That's true. Your actions will determine that. Now, did you hear Zelensky talk lately? Or interact with other leaders? I will give you 3 examples. One, did you hear him speak with the Bulgarian president a few days ago? Did you hear his rant today about NATO? There's just two examples. And there's more than that with countries that did not want to support his BS. Now, obviously you will not find Zelensky and in the same sentence with short man syndrome. No, you will not. You will find other ones, like Zelensky being the determined one, not the aggressive, the determined, right? The irresolute one, you know what I mean? The guy on top, like Winston Churchill, kind of like that, which obviously they're not comparable in this kind of situation. But it's like this. Let's say you have a child and you love your child, and your child, let's say, doesn't follow directions, not listening, it's a brat. You're not going to say, hey, my fucking kid is a brat, unless you're really honest about it and you're among friends and you don't mind saying it, because that's a fact, and everybody that you hang out with, the friends, will know that. So you're not going to have to hide it. In front of your enemy, you're not going to say, hey, my child is a tard, he's a brat. You're not going to say that. You're going to say, my child is a free-spirited child. My child has imagination. My child is so free, so imaginative. You're going to give a good connotation to the bad behavior, actually. And vice versa. If you have a child that, let's say, is listening, follows directions, oh, he's so tarded, he's so, you know, he's not like a boy, he's like a girl, he's like a, okay? So it depends on what do you want to express about the individual. If you like the individual, even his defects, you will make them look as being actually qualities. And if there's a person that you don't like, even if a quality, you're going to turn it into a defect. Because that's the way weasels are. Okay? Obviously, you're not going to do, as I said, you're not going to point out to an enemy or someone that you don't respect or wants to attack you. You're going to give him points to score about your child. But in regular talk with your friends and acquaintances that you assume that they're normal and they don't want to hurt you in any way, you tell the truth. My child is a brat, doesn't listen, smack, move, things like this. I'm not promoting violence and physical abuse against children. There was no mark left, okay? It was a joke, YouTube, so don't... Anyway, my friends. So first, Napoleon was not short for his age, for his time. Putin is taller than Zelensky, but Putin is called with a syndrome, and Napoleon is called with a syndrome. Zelensky, on the other hand, is the great father, a great leader of humanity. All right, irresolute, serious, a man of his word. He knows what he's talking about. Courageous, from a clown, from a comedian. Give me a break. When did you see this kind of transformation? All right, it's not impossible, but I will use my direct experience with life. He's a fake. Okay, everything he's doing in front of these things, of the camera and these pictures that are taken of him and promoted, that's a fake. That's false. That's an image these guys create. That's not him. But people, oh my God, look at him. I like this guy. Look at him. He's always serious and... All right. Anyway, thank you very much for being with me again today. Stay strong, stay smart, look for the truth, and be just.